Win this and I'll respect you forever. Richard Thompson's voice boomed across the marble lobby of Thompson Tech Tower. He pointed at a crumpled business contract on the floor near Marcus Johnson, who was quietly mopping the entrance. Fix that mess and maybe you'll actually be worth the minimum wage we pay you. His rich friends laughed from across the room. His secretary giggled behind her hand. Security guards looked away. Marcus said nothing. He kept cleaning, his steady hands gripping the mop as dirty water spread across the shiny floor. Richard had accidentally knocked over the bucket moments before, sending gray liquid everywhere just to make a point about knowing your place. Some people understand the natural order, Richard announced to his audience, stepping around the puddle in his $1,000 shoes. He crushed the contract under his heel as he walked toward the elevator. The doors closed, leaving Marcus alone with dozens of people who had watched his public shame. But some challenges change everything. Have you ever made fun of someone who secretly held the key to your biggest problem? 2 hours later, panic filled the 50th floor. Richard Thompson stood in his glass office, watching his tech empire fall apart in real time. The Chinese partnership deal, 2 years of work, his company's future, was dying right before his eyes. This is unacceptable. The Chinese CEO, Mr. Chen, slammed his laptop shut. His translator looked confused and frustrated. The Japanese partners shook their heads. The Korean team were already packing their bags. Richard's hands shook as he watched the video call turn into chaos. Nobody could understand each other. 3 different translation companies had tried to help. Professional interpreters filled the conference room. Yet somehow everyone was more confused than ever. "Fix this," Richard shouted at his assistant. "I don't care what it costs." The Chinese team was talking about face and honor. The Japanese kept mentioning way and group harmony. The Koreans discussed nunchi and social awareness. But the translators just gave word-for-word meanings that made no sense. Richard felt his company slipping away. Thompson Tech had bet everything on this Asian expansion. Without it, they would be bankrupt in 6 months. His phone buzzed with angry messages from investors. Stock prices were already dropping. "Sir," his CFO, Sarah Martinez, rushed into the office. "The board is calling an emergency meeting. They want answers." Through his office window, Richard could see the conference room where millions of dollars in deals were falling apart. Angry voices in 3 languages mixed together like a storm. His expensive translators looked helpless. "This can't be happening," Richard whispered. He had built Thompson Tech from nothing. 10 years of 80-hour weeks, countless sacrifices, all of it dying because people couldn't talk to each other. Down in the lobby, Marcus Johnson cleaned windows with quiet focus. His dark eyes watched the chaos on the 50th floor through security monitors. He understood every single word being shouted up there, and he knew exactly what was going wrong. But why would anyone listen to a cleaner? Sarah Martinez needed fresh air. The conference room felt like a pressure cooker ready to explode. She stepped into the hallway, loosening her blazer. The deal was finished. In 3 hours, she would be updating her resume. That's when she noticed something strange. The janitor had stopped working. Marcus Johnson stood perfectly still next to his cleaning cart, head turned toward the conference room. His eyes moved like someone watching a tennis match, following each speaker as they switched languages. Sarah watched, curious. Most people got bored during multilingual meetings, but Marcus seemed completely focused, like he understood every word. "Excuse me?" Sarah walked over carefully. "Do you know what they're saying in there?" Marcus looked up, surprised. For a moment, he seemed ready to apologize and move on. Then something changed in his eyes. Something that looked like hope? "They're not really fighting about money," Marcus said quietly. Sarah's heart jumped. "What do you mean?" "The Chinese team keeps saying guanxi, relationships. But your translators call it business connections. In Chinese culture, guanxi means family-level trust. They think you want to use them, not partner with them." Sarah felt her pulse racing. "Keep talking." "The Japanese CEO uses wei, harmony. Your people translate it as agreement. But wa means the group's spirit. Everyone working together like one mind. He thinks you want him to just follow orders." Through the glass wall, Richard Thompson was waving his hands frantically as the Asian teams prepared to leave. "And the Koreans?" Sarah pressed. Marcus glanced back at the conference room. "They keep saying Zhong, Heart connection. Your translators call it an emotional business relationship, but Zhang is deeper than that. It's like choosing to care about someone's success as much as your own. They think you see them as just another contract. Sarah stared at this man in a janitor's uniform who had just explained 2 years of failed negotiations in 2 minutes. How do you know all this? My mom worked nights cleaning the International Business Center downtown. I did homework in empty conference rooms, listening to leftover meetings. When our neighbors needed help with documents, I was the kid who could help them understand. The conference room door opened. Richard's assistant came out, tears in her eyes. "They're leaving," she whispered to Sarah. "All of them. It's over." Sarah made a choice that would change everything. "Wait here," she told Marcus, then walked back into the chaos. Richard looked up as she entered. His usually perfect hair was messy from stress. His expensive suit was wrinkled. "Sarah, if you have a miracle, now's the time." "Actually," Sarah said, "I think I do." The Asian business leaders were already standing, shaking hands in polite goodbye. 2 years of work dying in diplomatic silence. "Before you go," Sarah announced, "I'd like you to meet someone." Richard frowned. "Sarah, this isn't the time for—" "Trust me." She opened the door and gestured to Marcus. "Gentlemen, this is Marcus Johnson. He has something important to share." The room went silent as Marcus entered, still wearing his cleaning uniform. The contrast was shocking. A janitor in a room full of executives in $1,000 suits. The Chinese CEO looked confused. The Japanese team leader checked his watch. The Korean executives whispered among themselves. Richard's face turned red with embarrassment. He recognized Marcus immediately, the man he had humiliated in the lobby that morning. What was Sarah thinking? But Marcus walked to the center of the room with quiet confidence that surprised everyone. "Mr. Chen," Marcus said in perfect Mandarin, his voice respectful and warm, "you are not being asked to compromise your principles. Mr. Thompson deeply values your commitment to building lasting relationships." The Chinese CEO's eyebrows shot up in surprise. This was not the robotic translation they had been hearing all day. Marcus turned to the Japanese team, switching to flawless Japanese. "Yamamoto-san, your vision of group harmony perfectly matches Thompson Tech's values. There has been a serious misunderstanding about our intentions." Then to the Korean executives in their own language, speaking about shared success and mutual care like family members planning together. The room crackled with shocked silence. Richard Thompson stared at the man he had called worthless just hours earlier. This janitor was speaking 4 languages perfectly, showing more business understanding than his entire translation team. But the real shock came when Marcus continued. He did not just translate words. He built bridges between hearts. "Mr. Chen, when you speak of guanxi, you mean the sacred trust between families. Mr. Thompson wants that same bond with your company. Not just a contract, but a partnership where your success becomes his success." The Chinese CEO nodded slowly, his expression softening for the first time all day. "Yamamoto-san, your concept of wa, working together as one spirit, this is exactly how Mr. Thompson wants to operate. Not as boss and worker, but as parts of the same team, each making the whole stronger." The Japanese executive leaned forward, suddenly interested. "And to our Korean partners," Marcus continued warmly, "when you speak of Zhong, caring for each other's well-being like family, this touches Mr. Thompson's heart. Business success means nothing if people do not grow together." For the first time in hours, the room felt calm. The angry voices had stopped. The rushed packing had paused. Everyone was listening. Richard found his voice, though it came out as a whisper. "Marcus, where did you learn to speak like this?" Marcus glanced at him briefly. "Growing up poor teaches you that words have power. My mother cleaned offices to survive, but she taught me that respect has no price tag. Every person deserves to be truly heard." The Chinese CEO spoke directly to Marcus in Mandarin. Marcus listened carefully, then turned to Richard. "Mr. Chen says he has been waiting 2 years for someone to understand what his company really wants. Not just profits, but partnership. He asks if you are ready to build something together that honors both cultures." Richard felt his throat tighten with emotion. This man he had treated like dirt was offering him salvation. Tell him yes." Tell him we want to learn from each other, grow together, and succeed as a family. Marcus translated, and for the first time all day, Mr. Chen smiled. The Japanese executive spoke next. Marcus nodded respectfully, then explained to Richard, Yamamoto-san says true wa means everyone contributes their best gifts. He wants to know if Thompson Tech is ready to blend American innovation with Japanese precision, not as master and servant, but as equal creators. Yes, Richard said immediately. Absolutely yes. The Korean CEO had been watching quietly. Now he spoke directly to Richard in English, his accent thick, but his message clear. Your janitor understands what your translators missed. Business is about people first, money second. If you remember this, we can build something beautiful together. Richard looked at Marcus, really looked at him for the first time. Not at his uniform or his skin color or his job title. He saw intelligence, dignity, and wisdom that had been invisible to him until this moment. Marcus, Richard said quietly, his voice shaking slightly, I owe you an apology. This morning I treated you terribly. I said horrible things. You could have let my company die, and I would have deserved it. The room watched this powerful CEO humble himself before the janitor he had mocked. But you didn't let it die, Richard continued. You saved it. You saved me. Why? Marcus was quiet for a moment, considering his words carefully. My mother taught me that anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. Helping you helps everyone in this room. That's what matters. Sarah Martinez had been watching from the corner, amazed by what she was seeing. This was not just problem-solving. This was healing. Marcus, she said, what you just did, this isn't just translation. This is genius. The Chinese CEO nodded vigorously. In China, we have a saying, the best translator does not just change words. He changes hearts. This man changed our hearts. The Japanese executive bowed slightly to Marcus. In our culture, we recognize wisdom wherever we find it. Your wisdom honored us today. The Korean CEO smiled warmly. Hade! You speak our language better than many Koreans. But more importantly, you speak the language of respect. This is rare and precious. Richard felt something breaking open in his chest. Shame, gratitude, and a dawning realization of how blind he had been. Marcus, he said slowly, I said if you won this challenge, I would respect you forever. But the truth is, you earned my respect the moment you chose to help instead of hurt. The question is, can you ever respect me? The room held its breath. Everyone understood this moment was about more than business deals. Marcus looked at this powerful man who had publicly humiliated him just hours before. Richard Thompson was rich, successful, and had never faced real consequences for treating people badly. But right now, he looked genuinely broken and genuinely sorry. Mr. Thompson, Marcus said finally, respect is not something you give once and forget. It's something you choose every day in how you treat everyone you meet. The janitor, the secretary, the security guard, the CEO, everyone has dignity that deserves recognition. Richard nodded, tears forming in his eyes. You're right. And I promise you, I will do better, not just with you, but with everyone. The Asian executives watched this exchange with approval. In their cultures, seeing someone acknowledge their mistakes and commit to change was deeply respected. So, the Chinese CEO said with a slight smile, shall we discuss how to build this partnership the right way? For the next 3 hours, Marcus facilitated the most productive business negotiation in Thompson Tech's history. He did not just translate languages, he translated dreams, fears, hopes, and cultural values. He helped 5 different groups of people see that they wanted the same things: success, respect, and partnership. By evening, preliminary agreements were signed. The Asian expansion was not just saved. It was transformed into something bigger and better than anyone had originally imagined. As the Asian executives left the building, each one stopped to shake Marcus's hand personally. They exchanged business cards with him, something they had not done with any other Thompson Tech employee. You must visit China, Mr. Chen said warmly. My company would be honored to learn from your wisdom. Japan needs people like you, Yamamoto-san added. You understand the heart of business. The Korean CEO was last. He handed Marcus a beautiful business card with gold lettering. In Korea, we say the most valuable person in any room is the one who builds bridges between people. Today, you were that person. After they left, Richard and Marcus found themselves alone in the conference room. The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything that had happened. "Marcus," Richard said finally, "I need to understand something. This morning I treated you like garbage. You could have destroyed me today. One phone call to the press about discrimination, a lawsuit, or anything. Instead, you saved my company. Why?" Marcus was quiet for a moment, organizing papers left behind from the meeting. "When I was 12, my mom got fired from a cleaning job. The office manager said she stole $20 from a desk. She didn't steal anything, but who was going to believe a poor black woman over a white manager?" Richard felt his stomach twist with shame. "We almost lost our apartment," Marcus continued. "Mom cried for 3 days straight. I promised myself that when I grew up, I would never let power be used to hurt innocent people, even when those people hurt me first." The weight of this hit Richard like a truck. "Marcus, I am so sorry. Not just for today, but for being part of a system that hurt your family, that still hurts people every day." "I know you are," Marcus said simply. "The question is, what are you going to do about it?" Richard ran his hands through his hair, thinking hard. "I want to offer you a job. Not just any job. Head of International Relations, full executive position, complete benefits package, stock options. You would be the highest paid translator in the city." Marcus smiled slightly. "Mr. Thompson, I appreciate the offer, but I'm not just a translator. You're right. You're a miracle worker. Name your price." "It's not about money," Marcus said patiently. "It's about respect and opportunity. How many other people in this building have skills you've never noticed? How many janitors, security guards, cafeteria workers, and secretaries have talents that could change your company?" Richard stared at him. I don't know." "That's the problem. You see uniforms, not people. Job titles, not potential. Today was not a miracle. It was just someone finally getting a chance to show what they could do." The truth hit Richard like cold water. "You're saying there are others like you." "I'm saying I'm not special. I just got noticed. How many others never will?" Richard felt something fundamental shifting in his mind. "What do you want me to do?" "Start seeing people," Marcus said simply. "All people. Listen to them. Ask about their dreams, their skills, and their ideas. You might be surprised by what you discover." The next morning, Richard Thompson called an emergency meeting with his entire leadership team. Sarah Martinez, the CFO who had first recognized Marcus's talent, sat at his right hand. "Yesterday, our company was saved by someone we had completely overlooked," Richard began. "Today we're going to talk about systemic change." His executives looked confused. Richard had never used words like systemic in business meetings before. "How many employees do we have?" Richard asked. "Just over 2,000, replied the HR director. "How many of them have we ever asked about their skills, education, or career goals outside their current job description?" Silence filled the room. "How many speak languages other than English? How many have degrees we don't know about? How many have ideas that could improve our company?" More silence. "I want a complete audit," Richard announced. "Every single employee gets a one-on-one interview. We find out what hidden talents we have been wasting. We create advancement opportunities based on ability, not just current position." The HR director looked nervous. "Sir, that would be expensive and time-consuming." "You know what's more expensive?" Richard shot back. "Nearly losing a $100 million deal because we were too blind to recognize the talent right under our noses." Sarah leaned forward. "I support this completely. Yesterday proved we have been making hiring decisions based on assumptions instead of abilities." "There's more," Richard continued. "Starting immediately, we are creating the Thompson Tech Opportunity Program. Any employee can apply for career advancement training regardless of their current role. We will pay for education, certification, language classes, whatever it takes to help people reach their potential. His executives exchanged glances. This was not the Richard Thompson they knew. And finally, Richard said, his voice growing stronger, we are implementing mandatory respect training for all management. If you cannot treat every employee with dignity, you cannot work here. No exceptions. After the meeting, Richard found Marcus in the lobby, cleaning the same windows where everything had started. Marcus, I've been thinking about our conversation yesterday. I want to do more than just offer you a job. I want to change how this entire company operates. Marcus looked up from his work. That sounds like a big commitment. It is, and I want you to help me do it right. Not as a translator or a consultant, but as a partner, vice president of human development. You would be in charge of finding and developing talent throughout the company. Marcus set down his cleaning supplies. Why would you trust me with something that important? Because yesterday, you proved you care more about doing the right thing than getting revenge. That's the kind of person I want helping me build a better company. For the first time since Richard had met him, Marcus looked uncertain. Mr. Thompson, I've been a janitor for 8 years. I don't have an MBA or corporate experience. You have something better. You understand people. You see potential where others see obstacles. You know what it feels like to be overlooked, so you will make sure others don't get overlooked. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. If I do this, I have conditions. Name them. First, this isn't about making me the token success story. Real change means creating systems that help everyone, not just one lucky person. Richard nodded. Agreed. Second, I want transparency. Every promotion, every opportunity program, every policy change gets announced publicly. No secret deals, no special treatment that others can't access. Agreed. Third, if this doesn't work, if you change your mind when the media attention dies down, I want a guarantee that the opportunity program continues even if I'm gone. Richard extended his hand. Deal. But Marcus, I'm not changing my mind. Yesterday you showed me who I really was, and I didn't like what I saw. I want to be better. I want this company to be better. Marcus shook his hand, feeling the calluses. From years of manual labor, meet the soft palm of inherited wealth. But for the first time, it felt like they were meeting as equals. 6 months later, Thompson Tech Tower looked exactly the same from the outside. Same marble lobby, same crystal chandeliers, same expensive art on the walls. But everything had changed. Marcus Johnson walked through the building in a perfectly fitted suit, no longer pushing a cleaning cart. As Vice President of Human Development, he had an office on the 45th floor with a view of the entire city. But every morning, he still started his day in the lobby, talking with the custodial staff, security guards, and maintenance workers. "Good morning, Rosa," he said to the woman mopping the entrance. "How did your daughter's college interview go?" Rosa Hernandez beamed with pride. "So good. She got accepted to the engineering program. Thank you for helping her with the application essay." "That was all her hard work," Marcus replied. "But I'm proud of you both. This had become Marcus's routine. Every person who worked in the building knew his name, and he knew theirs. More importantly, he knew their dreams. The Thompson Tech Opportunity Program had exceeded everyone's expectations. In 6 months, they had discovered a security guard who spoke 7 languages and was now head of international customer service, a cafeteria worker with an accounting degree who became their new financial analyst, a maintenance worker who had invented 3 different efficiency improvements and was now in the engineering department, a receptionist with a master's degree in computer science who joined their software development team, but the biggest change was in Richard Thompson himself. "Marcus, you need to see this." Sarah Martinez burst into his office holding a tablet. The business news article just came out. Marcus read the headline. Thompson Tech, the company that discovered gold in its own backyard. The article described their transformation program and its incredible results. Company productivity was up 40%. Employee satisfaction had reached all-time highs. Most importantly, they had signed partnerships with 12 new international companies. all requesting to work specifically with Thompson Tech because of their innovative approach to human resources. We're getting interview requests from Harvard Business School. Forbes and CNN? Sarah continued excitedly. Everyone wants to know how we did it. Marcus smiled. It wasn't complicated. We just started seeing people. That evening, Richard knocked on Marcus's office door. Got a minute? Always, Marcus replied, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. Richard sat down, looking nervous. I have something to tell you. Something I should have said months ago. Marcus waited patiently. The morning I humiliated you in the lobby, Richard began, his voice tight with emotion. That wasn't the first time I had treated someone that way. It wasn't even the 10th time. I had spent years making people feel small because it made me feel big. Marcus nodded, not surprised by this admission. I called my therapist that night, Richard continued. I told her what happened, what you did for me, and how ashamed I felt. She helped me understand that my behavior came from my own insecurities. I was afraid that if I treated people as equals, they might prove they were better than me. And now? Marcus asked gently. Now I know that other people's success doesn't diminish mine. It multiplies it. Richard looked out the window at the city lights. This company is more successful than it has ever been, and it's because we stopped wasting talent. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Richard, can I ask you something personal? Of course. Are you happy? Richard considered this carefully. You know, I used to think happiness came from being above other people. Now I think it comes from lifting other people up. So yes, I'm happier than I've ever been. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. There's something else, Richard said. The board wants to promote you again. Senior Vice President of Operations. It would make you the second highest ranking person in the company? Marcus raised his eyebrows. That's a big jump. You've earned it. The international partnerships alone have brought in more money than we made in the previous 3 years combined. But more than that, you've changed the culture of this entire company. People trust each other now. They collaborate instead of compete. They see possibilities instead of problems. Marcus thought about the scared, angry young man he had been 8 years ago when he started cleaning these floors. He thought about his mother, who had worked 3 jobs to keep them afloat, never complaining, always believing things would get better. I'll accept the promotion on one condition, Marcus said finally. What's that? We expand the opportunity program to other companies. Not just Thompson Tech, but everywhere. We create a foundation that helps businesses discover hidden talent in their workforce. Richard grinned. I was hoping you'd say something like that. I already spoke with the board about setting aside $10 million for the Thompson Johnson Foundation for Workplace Equality. Marcus stared at him. Thompson Johnson? Your name should be first, actually. This was your idea. For the first time in months, Marcus felt tears in his eyes. My mother would be so proud. She should be. Her son changed the business world. 1 year later, Richard Thompson and Marcus Johnson stood together on the stage of the National Business Leadership Conference. They were receiving the Innovation in Human Resources Award, the highest honor in their industry. But Marcus was thinking about the acceptance speech he was about to give. In the audience were hundreds of CEOs, business leaders, and entrepreneurs. These were the people who made decisions that affected millions of workers every day. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus began, his voice carrying clearly through the auditorium. A year ago, I was mopping floors in a corporate lobby. Today, I'm standing here as Senior Vice President of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in America. The audience applauded politely. But this award is not about my success story, Marcus continued. It's about all the success stories that never happen because we don't look for them. The room grew quiet, sensing something important was coming. How many janitors in your building speak multiple languages? How many security guards have business degrees? How many cafeteria workers have ideas that could transform your companies? Marcus could see people shifting in their seats thinking. Richard Thompson taught me that the most expensive mistake a business can make is wasting human potential. Not because it's morally wrong, though it is, but because it's economically stupid. Some nervous laughter rippled through the audience. In the past year, Thompson Tech has increased profits by 60% simply by using talents that were always there. We didn't hire new people. We just started seeing the people we already had. Now the audience was leaning forward, interested. So I challenge everyone in this room. Marcus said, his voice growing stronger. Go back to your companies and really look at your employees. Not at their job titles or their uniforms, but at their potential. Ask them about their dreams, their skills, and their ideas. He paused, scanning the faces in the crowd. You might discover that the person who could save your company is already working for you. They might be cleaning your office right now, or serving your lunch, or guarding your building at night. The question is, are you ready to see them? The applause that followed was thunderous. But more importantly, Marcus could see something change in people's faces. The same recognition he had seen in Richard Thompson's eyes a year ago. After the ceremony, dozens of business leaders approached Marcus with questions about implementing similar programs. The Thompson Johnson Foundation had already helped 47 companies discover hidden talent in their workforce, with remarkable results. But the moment that meant the most to Marcus came when a young black woman approached him backstage. "Mr. Johnson," she said shyly, "I work in the cafeteria at Peterson Industries. I have a degree in marketing, but nobody there knows that. After hearing your speech, I'm going to talk to my manager tomorrow." Marcus smiled and handed her his business card. "When you do, tell them to call me. I'd be happy to explain how investing in their employees could change their entire company." As the conference ended and people began to leave, Richard found Marcus sitting quietly in the empty auditorium. "Thinking about anything in particular?" Richard asked, taking the seat beside him. "Just remembering something my mother used to say," Marcus replied. "Baby, dignity is not about what job you have. It's about how you treat people while you're doing it." Richard nodded thoughtfully. She was right. But I think she forgot to mention something. "What's that?" "Dignity is also about how you let other people treat you. A year ago, you could have let my ignorance define your worth. Instead, you proved that respect is something you give yourself first, then demand from others." Marcus looked at this man who had once called him worthless and now considered him an equal partner. "You know, Richard, I never thanked you." Richard looked confused. "For what?" "For giving me a chance to show who I really was, even if you didn't mean to." They sat together in the quiet auditorium. Two men from completely different worlds who had found common ground in the simple belief that every person has value. Outside, the city hummed with millions of lives, millions of dreams, and millions of untapped possibilities waiting to be discovered. The challenge had been won. But more importantly, it had taught them both something that would last forever. True respect is not something you give as a reward. It's something you offer as recognition of the dignity that exists in every human being, regardless of their job title, their uniform, or their place in society. Sometimes the most important victories begin with the cruelest defeats, and sometimes the people who change your life are the ones you never thought to see.